Hello again, everyone. Today we'll be making a tier list about the legendary cards from the Legend Rise set in Shadowverse World Beyond. So I'm mainly going to be evaluating the individual cards itself. So we're not just looking at the decks. We're taking that into account, but we're also just seeing the card itself, how strong it is, what does it do. Like this could kind of tell you how happy you should be when pulling a card, but also what the card's value is potentially moving forward. And so, without further ado, let's jump right into it. First off, let me tell you like what the tiers are. S tier are super strong cards that can basically stand on their own. Most likely will stand the test of time for a while. Like we don't know how bad the power creep will be in this game, but regardless of what archetype is being played in, these are cards that would generally overperform and are impactful enough. So that's S tier. A tier. A tier, these cards are should be either one, cards that are on the fringe of being S tier, or two, C played in the meta deck but might get replaced. I'll go into a few examples later on, but essentially that these cards are being played right now. They are strong, but they don't do enough that I feel like they could be replaced later on when more cards get released. Like basically, when new card set comes out that supports this archetype, these are the cards that I expect would be shaved out from your deck instead. The first to be shaved out. And so moving on to B tier. This is the tier where they're decent. Like currently we use them, but only for some decks, and they're not that strong. They have cases where they're strong. They have times when they're strong, but overall they don't have much going for them. C tier, I would say, are the ones that have potential. They suck right now, but they have potential. Like this could be the archetype being developed further on, or just the pieces are not there for this to work properly, this card to work properly. And D tier are cards that most likely you won't see play. Like if Shadowverse ever allows us to vow without having a set of 3, like these are likely the cards that we just vow anyways, regardless of how many copies you have, because most likely they're not going to see play. Okay, so with that, let's start. I'll be using the Shadowverse official deck portal. I sorted by all the legendary cards, and so we'll be going by cost. The first one, Amethyst. So Amethyst, fanfare, gives this follower plus X, X the number of pixie followers, but basically fairies, unless they make other pixie followers later on. As ward, and evolve, do 1 damage to a random enemy follower, equals to the number of pixies in your hand. I feel like this card it needs work. Like, maybe if there ever comes a card that gives you the crest to increase your hand size. Because think about it, like even if you're a pixie and fairy deck, at the moment at least, let me just open the card library. At the moment, like what generates a good amount of fairies? Fairy Convocation, Fairy Tamer, Good Fairy. This one adds 1, this one adds 1. It's not a lot. This one adds 1. It's really not a lot. So even if you're a pixie deck, how many fairies would you want to hold in your hand? You have a hand size of 9. Anything more you burn. So you generally keep your hand size around 8. And if you have 5, if all you have are pixie generators, what's your win condition? I'm guessing later on, hopefully, there'll be an archetype based more on hand size. You can see this with Glade, you can see this with Deep Boot, Fairy Beast, that they care about the number of cards in your hand. So I feel like what's really missing is a card that just increases your hand size permanently. I think that will really like wrap this archetype around. There's actually another card that I feel like would benefit from this as well, from Forestcraft later on. And so for now, Amethyst goes in the C tier. Moving forward, Kagemitsu. We are really not starting off strong here. I'm not sure if this is a controversial take, but I think Kagemitsu might be one of the worst legendaries in this set. I don't see a point for it. Like sure, whenever it gets killed, it comes back 2 turns later. But it's just a 2/2. It does not have rush. It doesn't have bane. It doesn't have anything. And so I think that's what's really holding this back in Shadowverse 1. It had rush. Now you have to super evolve it to give it storm, and there have just so many other better super evolved targets. I feel like technically super evolving the squirrel with ambush would give you more damage, because not only does it gives you a 3/3, it doesn't give storm, but it also gives you another squirrel. So I feel like Kagemitsu is one of the more disappointing legendaries. I don't see a lot of Swordcraft decks running it now. People ran it at the start of the season, but now I don't think so. So I guess this is where it belongs for now. Next one. Next up, we have UD, Maiden Reborn. It's a 3-cost 3/3 with fanfare of draw a card, so it essentially replaces itself. You can evolve it to most of the time, restore 3 defense to your leader over 3 turns. This is because you're usually playing this early on in the game, and so your hand size should be relatively healthy. And so I feel like this card, it's being played in Artifact Porter and Puppet Porter right now, but I don't think it does much for either one. Like, it's just a 3-cost 3/3. There's a dime a dozen actually. Even if you take a look at this, just searching 3 costs. It's a neutral silver that's 3/3 as well, even a neutral bronze that's 3/3. Yeah, sure, it replaces itself, but I feel like as more sets release, and each archetype gets more support, the draw a card will be less relevant, as you would likely want to play your archetype specific 3-drop instead. So I feel like it's good, but I think it belongs in the B tier for now. It's good, but it's high B. It's high B. I would say it's high B. For now, it's good enough to see play. Next up, Albert. I think everyone knows this card. I don't think I need to talk much about it, but this would be our first S tier. Like, we start off not that strong, but we're immediately jumping up S tier, because essentially, when you play against Swordcraft, your game revolves around Albert. You are trying to keep yourself from 12 HP as much as you can, just so you don't get into a range of Albert's lethal. It not only can attack twice, it deals 3 damage to all enemy followers, clearing the board when even your opponent has Amalia, the 8-cost Swordcraft that gives 4 followers with Ward. This would just clear it all out. This would clear Salefa as well. So this literally changes the game for Swordcraft. And so I would say this is a prime example of just a super strong card. Dealing 12 damage at turn 9 with a super evolve is, what can I say, it's pretty good, right? Next up, Anne and Grey Up Mysterian Duo. Fanfare, Summon, and Summoning. It's a 5/5 with Rush and Ward, but it does disappear at the end of your opponent's turn. Maybe there's some lore reasons for this, not sure. Anyways, this, when the game first started out, I feel like I didn't see a lot of Runecraft's player running this, and I thought that was a huge mistake, because this card is actually kind of cracked. Not only does it summon a body, so in total you already have 9 costs, 9 attack and 9 defense on the board. You spell boost your hand 3 times, and when you evolve it, you deal 3 damage. For most intents and purposes, you are clearing the board when you have Anne and Greya on the field. When you play Anne and Greya, you are clearing the board at turn 5 at least. So I feel like this is also an easy S. Like, not only does it give a summon, not only is it a wild cost 6/6, not only does it do 3 damage, it spell boosts your hand 3 times. Like, it could spell boost twice and it would still be a good card. This is, I would say, Rune's best 5 template. If I was versusing an aggro deck, I would definitely mulligan for it. Okay. Moving on to the second 5 cost. Oh, we have quite a few of those, huh? Aragavi Eternal Hunter. Fanfare deals 7 damage split between all enemy followers. This is actually a pretty good fanfare, because at turn 5, this should be clearing the board, because they can only evolve. They most likely can only evolve, and evolve, they still take damage. So you can potentially clear the board without spending any evolve points. But that's kind of where it ends. It's 4/3 only, and the evolve is deal 3 damage. It's good for aggro. It's good when you're playing Abysscraft aggro, but there are also a lot of aggro decks at the moment. And so, if you evolve, your opponent might actually thank you for it. In Shadowverse 1, Bloodcraft had a thing where after you do damage to yourself for 7 times, you gain additional cards, gain additional effect. But there's just nothing like that in Abysscraft at the moment. So dealing 3 to yourself just seems like a bit of a downside here. And so, I guess, after going strong, I feel like this is at most. No, it's not even B. I would say it's C. Because unless we get, similar to Amethyst, we would need proper support for this, like for the whole archetype of hurting yourself. Otherwise, I don't see much of a point at the moment. I at least, like, you're just hurting yourself. Like, again, the aggro player, like, if I'm playing aggro dragon and you evolve this, I must say arigato, Next one. The last 5 costs, Salefa. Fanfare, restore 3 defense to your leader. It has ward, and it's evolved. Deal 3 damage to all enemy followers. You can kind of see a theme with the 5 cost. Basically, the 5 cost slot is generally the one that clears the board, right? And no one does it better, I feel, than Salefa. If you're an aggro deck, you would hate seeing this card. By turn 5 or 4, if you're going second, at most you've probably dealt 6 damage to the enemy leader. They put this out, they instantly heal half of that back, and they most likely evolve it to wipe off your board. It has ward as well, so you have to go through it. Mid game, it's a great card. The problem with this card is it's not that strong late game. It doesn't do much without evolving. The power really comes from evolving it. I think it's in fact, I would say it's kind of the opposite problem of Aragave, where Aragavi doesn't need any evolve points, but this one definitely needs evolve points to feel good. And if you, honestly, in the late game where evolve points are very important, drawing this card doesn't feel as good anymore. I do think it's a good card, but it's very specific anti-aggro. In that, looking at that, it does kind of feel like it plays a similar role with UD, where UD restores 3 defense, and it's a good body on turn 3. So yeah, I guess having them about the same tier does. I feel like Salefa's slightly better than UD, just because of the board wipe. And now moving away from the 5 costs. How many? Ooh, we have 3/6 costs. Arya, Lady of the Woods. It gives you a crest. The crest basically says, whenever an ally pixie flower enters the battlefield, give it Storm. Essentially, it gives all your fairies Storm. When you super evolve it, you can swing for 3 in the face as well. This is pretty good in Roach Forest. You only want to see one. Like, past the first one, it basically doesn't do anything. But it really helps Roach Forest gets chipped away at the enemy health for them to reach lethal with just 1 or 2 roaches. When you play with Super Evolve, it most likely can take out one thing and then deal 3 damage phase. It's also really good at reducing the cost of Bale, because it itself generates 4 bodies. So Bale is, whenever an ally follower leaves the field, reduce the cost. This includes it being destroyed. And so Arya alone would technically reduce Bale's cost by 4. So I would say it's very good in Roach, and I think it's a prime example of an A tier way. It's very good in one deck. It does its job well, but it doesn't do anything spectacular. It doesn't do anything like, oh wow, like if my opponents play this, fair enough, And so on to another card. I'm not too sure if I can call this card underrated, but I feel like it definitely was at the start of the game. This card allows Swordcraft to play to the late game. For example, Olivia. Olivia's a card that most half of the meta decks would play happily. It draws you 2 cards, you store 2 defense, and recovers 2 play points for 7 costs. Amelia is 6 costs. It draws you 2 Swordcraft followers specifically, and recover 3 play points. It doesn't restore your health, but recovering 3 play points versus 2, I feel it's equally good. The Super Evolve, beginners might think it's not that powerful, but if you're good at Swordcraft, I've seen people use Luminous Mage. So on turn 8, I want to say, they play Amelia, they play Luminous Mage, they Super Evolve it. Luminous Mage, for people who don't know. Alright, yeah. Is this one? Luminous Magus. So it summons 3 Steelclad Knights and gives it ward. And now you can give them barrier as well. So they have to hit through the knights 2 times if they don't have something like Unholy Vessel. I feel like this card will probably stand the test of time, and although Swordcraft players at the start was really aiming for Albert, like they prioritized Albert, I feel like Amelia is equally important, especially since we have more control decks at the moment. Even Artifact, I consider Artifact Porter more of a control deck as well. And so, yeah, I feel like Amelia deserves nothing less than she's not the strongest card, and she doesn't do as much as these two, but she's definitely S tier. Like, this card just does so much, and barrier is just kind of hard to go through at the moment if you don't have Bane. I will say though, like, we'll get to that card later, but there's a card that gives a lot of creatures, a lot of followers Bane, and so I would say that's the main reason I'm hesitant to put Amelia fully in the S tier, but I feel for what it does and how much it contributes to Swordcraft's late game, I think it deserves it. And so, next off, Forte. One of my favorite cards, and probably the shortest text we'll see today. Storm and Intimidate. Storm meaning you can attack on the first turn. Intimidate meaning nothing can attack it. Puppet Potter. Forte is part of the reason Puppet Potter has to place things like Divine Thunder and Bullets from Beyond. Forte is if you play this with Aggro Dragon and you're going second, you can put a Forte down and deal 7 damage on turn 5 to face if they have no ward. That's kind of insane. Like, I was talking about Albert doing 12 damage at turn 9. This does it. You're not even super evolving, you're just normally evolving it, and it deals 7 damage. If you have 2 back-to-back Fortes, that's it. They're essentially done. Because 2 Fortes attacking is 14 damage, and your previous Forte attacking already did 7. So that's lethal. However, she's basically a one-trick pony, right? She is basically just an aggro card for all intents and purposes. She's a very good aggro card, but she doesn't do anything beyond it. The deck she's in, she's very good at, but beyond that, she's not super strong at these. Like, think about just how much these followers do compared to just dealing face damage. So for that reason, I think I'll put it in the A tier. Going into the 7 cost with our first neutral follower, Olivia. I referenced this card previously. I think not much needs to be said about it. Where is it? It deserves A. It's just a solid, good card. It draws 2 cards. It restores 2 defense. Very good against aggro decks. Pretty good for Puppet and Swordcraft that don't have much HP recovery. It also recovers 2 play points, so you can play something. And it ties nicely to its Super Evolve, where you can play something who costed and evolve both Olivia and whatever you just played. This also technically, you might as well say it here, it deals 2 damage to enemy leader, because Super Evolve will generally hit 2 things as well. So it's draw 2 cards, restore 2, recover 2 play points, and deal 2 to enemy leader. There's a reason why this card sees plays in quite a lot of meta decks, even though it's a neutral card, it's supposed to be weaker. And so yeah, I think it deserves its spot in the A tier. We're going strong, and it doesn't seem like we're letting up. Right now, we are going to talk about Kuon, 5-4 Masters. What doesn't this do? It summons a Celestial Shikigami, this has Ward. It summons a Demonic Shikigami, this has Rush. It summons a Paper Shikigami. And if you play for 10 costs, you destroy all of them and summon a Noble Shikigami, which would usually have a total of 10. If you evolve it, you can give any Shikigami Storm. On 10 costs, you could have a 10 body with Storm, and also something to get through Kuon himself. But most Runecraft players play on 7, because each Shikigami dying spell boosts your hand. Celestial Shikigami spell boosts your hand 3 times. Demonic and Shikigami spell boosts your hand 1 time. That's a total of 5 spell boosts. 4 bodies. One of them potentially having Storm. One of them having Ward, and just 2 followers with Rush for 7 costs. This is probably the strongest legendary card in this set at the moment. When you're playing against Runecraft, you basically have to prepare for this card. You have to, after their 7 cost, you have to expect this on their 7 cost turn and then play around it. So for that reason, I think it deserves S. I'll try to revisit if this is the strongest card, but I think it makes a very, very good case for it. Okay, next up, Burn Knight, Anathema of Flame. Select the card in your hand and discard it. Deal X to all enemy followers. X is the cost of the selected card. So let's say if you discarded Kuon, for example, another 7 cost, you would deal 7 damage to all enemy followers. It's basically a board wipe, but if you don't wipe the board, you can super evolve it, which will become a 10-10. That's a pretty big body for just the game overall. Not a lot of things hit 10-10. And it gives your opponent a crest. It gives your opponent 1. At the start of each turn, it deals 1 damage to your leader. Once during each turn, when your enemy leader tries to heal, it deals 1 damage back. So it's kind of like an anti-heal while dealing burn damage every turn to the leader. Aside from the sick art, I do think this card is not bad. I'm not sure it's great, but I do think it's not bad. I know most aggro decks don't play it, but I've found pretty good success with it, especially if I'm versusing something like Havencraft, where they are constantly healing that 1 from that 2 cost amulet. It also wipes the board. what I don't like about it is this is a super evolve, not just an evolve. If this was an evolve, I still think it would be okay. It wouldn't be insanely broken because it's you can only play at 7 costs. But I do think this card is not bad. I'm on the fence about it in aggro dragon. In Ram Dragon, I think it's also not bad. But I don't think it stand the test of time. It's a bit slow, unfortunately, and so I think I'll give it a strong B, I feel. So next one. Oh wow. I think probably there's I guess 7 cost is the most abundant in legendaries. Medusa. Rush can attack 3 times. Follow strike, meaning if you attack a follower, destroy the opposing follower. It instantly kills any follower it tries to attack with. So this is most likely a bot clear. It's only clears 3 things, but most of the time, like, that's all it needs to clear. And it doesn't even do any damage. Like, unlike Geno, where technically Bane would destroy it, this one, it bypasses everything. The moment you attack it, that's it. The follower is dead. And if they leave it on, you could super evolve it. Because this attack 3 times doesn't just apply to follow strike. So if your opponent somehow forgets about Medusa's ability and they leave it on, you could super evolve it and potentially deal 18 damage a turn to the face. That being said, however, I think that it's not that strong of a card. It's not bad, but I also don't think it's that strong. Mainly because all it does is destroy followers. Like, the moment your opponent answers this, like, I'm not sure if it's impactful enough. Right, especially at the current state of Abysscraft, where it's neither fully control, and it's not aggro. And if it's aggro, you don't really want the card to just be dealing with the board instead of like dealing damage to the face. So I think it's strong. I think it's a high B. I quite like it. I feel I like it more than these 3 cards. So, but the problem is Abysscraft itself right now. It does not have a functioning theme well. And so rightfully Medusa doesn't really slot in either one. And so maybe later on, if as Abysscraft develops better, it can be seen as a pretty good 7 play. Maybe they have something that gives ward to protect Medusa. So it becomes more of a threat and your opponents have to play around it. But at the moment, if someone plays Medusa, as long as you can answer it, it's no fuss. So I think B tier is fair. Alright. On to our last 7 cost legendary, Rodeo. Again, a very good example of just a card that needs more support. Right now, what it does is, when you play it, you discard a card, meaning you go down in 1 card economy, but you summon 3 random differently named amulets from your deck that cost 3 or less. So what are you doing with that right now? So let's go to the card library. Let's go Havencraft, Amulet, and then 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's search. And there are literally these 5 to choose from. Summoning this at turn 7 doesn't feel very good. This either. This is fine and this is fine. But even Dark Haven Grace, like, you could summon it, but essentially you will be doing nothing with it for turn 7. The evolve is a super evolve. It's pretty neat. It destroys an enemy follower with the highest attack and then deals 1 to damage to all enemy followers. But it just doesn't do enough at the moment. If ever. So just speaking from my experience playing other card games, if ever there are 3 specific amulets that just combo insanely well together, this would show up to be S tier. But as it stands right now, it just lacks support. Like, there are no good. Even those of Holiness would be the best one technically, and even then I'm just like, is this the best you could do? So at the moment, I think Rodeo belongs to the C tier. I do, in terms of potential, I feel like it's potential in the C tier. I feel like this is probably the one with the highest potential, but at the moment, it belongs in the C tier. I wish that wasn't the case though, because I do have a premium. I think my first premium was a Rodeo, and it looks really sick. Like, the lightning effect here, occasionally like sparkles, and that, like, look at his eye is just sick. But moving on to the next one. Oh wow, we have a lot of 8 costs as well. Same amount. Garyu, Fabled Dragonkin. It basically does the same thing in Shadowverse Worlds Beyond as Shadowverse 1. For 8 costs, it's a 5/5 that summons a 4/5 with ward and a 5/4 with Rush. If you super evolve it, the Ward gains Storm, basically equal to cooldown, and then the 5/4 gains Barrier. Personally, I feel this card, it's not bad. It needing a super evolve is kind of rough. Like if you don't super evolve it, it doesn't feel like it's doing much. You take example for Kuon. I would say this is basically slightly worse Kuon. The bodies are technically better, but it doesn't advance your game plan as much. Like it technically deals 5 damage if you utilize the storm, but if you have to attack something else, it's just not as good. The 8 cost, we'll get into it, but 8 cost is a very, very pivotal turns for a lot of decks, and you can see in the following legendaries, it's super important, and this Gayu just doesn't deal with those decks good enough in a sense. It's not bad, but I feel like it's going to be one of the first cards to be replaced. It's not bad though. I would say it's slightly better than Medusa because it at least does something on the turn it's played. Like if you super evolve, you can push for face damage. So I'll put it highest B tier right now. Like, you know what? Low A. I don't see that many legendaries that would potentially come out for Dragoncraft that you won't play Gayu like let's say 2 sets from now for Ram Dragon. The problem is Ram Dragon itself at the moment kind of sucks, I guess. Like obviously this isn't talking about this is a case about the deck, but Ram Dragon just doesn't have too much going for it at the moment, and so Gayu itself, it's also limited. If you could rush this out early, let's say you could rush this out turn 6, that's pretty good. But even then, a Kuon on turn 7 would be able to do it most of the board, while spell boosting the Runecraft player's hand. So if Ram Dragon gets better, I see it getting better as well. So maybe it deserves A for now. On to the next one, Cerberus. Fanfare, summon Mimi. Right paw Hellhound. When it dies, both it's so cute this card. When it dies, it deals 2 damage to the enemy leader. And the left paw, when it dies, it restores 2 defense to your leader. The cards are so cute. And their evolve are even cuter. But that's besides the point. Personally, I do think that this card is actually 80. I feel like this is I think it's one of the best legendaries in a shitty class right now. I don't think Abysscraft is as bad as some people think it is, but it's definitely not as good as the top tiers right now. Think about this. If you super evolve this, it's a 9/9 first off. It's one of the biggest statted legendaries. And importantly, it reanimates 1-2 times. It just so happens that the things you summon, look at her at the back, are 1 cost. So this card alone can summon Mimi 3 times, meaning you can deal 6 damage to your enemy leader, as well as it's super evolving deals 1. That's basically 7 damage. To say nothing of the life you just gain back, and because Abysscraft has this card. I will admit it's a bit slow, but this one. So you can destroy this to summon 2 copies of Ghost. Necromancy 6, those 2 ghosts technically get +2/+0 as well. So what can happen is if you have this, you play Cerberus, those 2 ghosts hit for 6, you play Mimi, destroy her, super evolve her, Mimi, the 3 Mimis deal 6 or so, that's 12 damage on turn 8. Cerberus kills something with being super evolved, that's 13 damage. Like 13 damage for on turn 8, it's actually more than Swordcraft's. Although it's not guaranteed, but neither is Swordcraft to be fair. Like, and technically this might go through depending on how you play Mimi, this could go through Ward. But the problem really is Abysscraft right now. And so I really want to put it in S. If this was just looking at the card, just factoring the card alone, I would probably give it an S. But although it doesn't take this is a deck tier list, I am taking that into account as well. Fuck it. Cerberus, the S tier card. It's just what you can do. It is quite insane. And so let's go on to the next one. John, fanfare, deal 6 damage to all followers, and give all other allied followers on the field +2/+4. If you're a good player, you're a good Havencraft player, and somehow you can time the wing statue and avian statue to be exactly on your John turn, and your John deals 6 damage to all enemy followers, wipes their board, that's actually a crazy turn. Like, just having one of each, it will make this 2/2 into a 4/6, it will make this 4/4 into a 6/8. So that's 10 damage storm already. If you super evolve either one of them, that's 13 damage. And good, your opponent essentially has to get through a ward and then get to those two as well. The problem is timing it. I play a bit of Amulet Haven, and obviously I'm not the best player, but sometimes you know, not every day is, as one of my friends put it when I play Magic the Gathering, not every day is Christmas. And so just thinking about, let's say you have give one allied follower 2/4 and dealing 6 damage to all enemy followers. It's not a bad card. It most likely wipes your opponent's board, but it doesn't do much afterwards. It's just a 6/6 with ward. If you have even one allied follower, it becomes quite a bit better. But even then, technically, Olivia would most likely be able to clear it. Olivia with a little help, obviously. So I feel like it would probably be one of the first cards to be replaced in, unless we have better amulets like this. Unless we basically have Power Crab Avian Statue, I think John probably belongs here. And Avian Statue is a pretty strong card already, so I don't see it being Power Crab that easily. Oh, watch this age like milk, I guess. But for the moment, at least, I feel like it's bogged down a bit by what it can support. If this was a Swordcraft card, it would actually be insane. Like, cause just Swordcraft's ability to swarm the board, but because Havencraft doesn't swarm the board like that, and maybe one day Rodeo would have the dream. One day Rodeo summons 3 amulets that has one countdown 1. You play John the next turn, and then everything that came down the previous turn gets +2/+4. Someday, maybe Havencraft gets that, but for now, it's B tier. Alright, moving on to the only other contender I feel for the best legendary. This card alone, Puppet Porter is basically built around this card. If this card was not as good, Puppet Porter would equally be not as good. Artifact Porter plays this card just because it's that good. Like, Artifact Porter doesn't have much to do on their 8th turn. They do have their own legendary, but this might be actually better because it summons Lloyd. On itself, it just summons Lloyd. It's a 3-cost 1/6 that has a very interesting and unique ability where your opponents can select any other cards other than this one for ability. So it's basically kind of like a taunt for abilities. Like things like Feudal can destroy Orcus until they destroy Lloyd. But I don't know if most people know this. Technically, if you play Silver and Super Evolve it, you can target Orcus at the same time. So it doesn't work like some card games where it checks the time. As long as you can destroy Lloyd, you can also destroy Orcus in the same move. But that being said, still, it gives all puppets Storm and Bane. If you Super Evolve it, summons 2 enhanced puppet. By Super Evolving it, if Orcus kills follower, destroys a follower, you deal 8 damage to the board while having body with ward, 1/6 body with ward and Bane. So whatever hits it has to die. You can just kill Orcus straight away without killing Lloyd as well. So for that reason, and again, this card is literally so good that Artifact Porter plays the puppet package, basically plays a puppet package because of this card. And so it has to be I think it probably fighting for the spot of the top legendary, but I think at the moment, again, Kuon just spell boosting your hand 5 times just does so much that Orcus doesn't do as much as Kuon, but still, it's a lot. On turn 8, it can clear the board, you can push in for damage if you have more puppets. One of the probably the best 8 drop in the game right now. I think the next one is the other 8 cost Artifact follower. Don't get me wrong, Ramia's great. And honestly, just jumping ahead, Ramia's A tier. It's very specific Artifact Porter, but it does its job very good. Fanfare, select 3 Artifact followers in your hand, cost 5 or less. Aside from the big Gundam, every artifact you currently fuse is cost 5 or less, and summon an exact copy of each. There's potential too, because potentially there could be new artifacts moving forward. But all it does is just summon. I want to say all it does, but this is in comparison to Orcus. It's just summon the three best case scenario, it summons the three artifacts. So Alpha, Beta, and Gamma. So you heal 3, you deal 3 to your opponent, and you deal 3 to the board. It doesn't do as much as Orcus, because what if the board's 7 has your enemy board is 7/7/7, like 3/7 defense followers. Like this doesn't even just barely deals with 1. So meanwhile Orcus can clear the entire board, and this is the reason why it's strong. But this is the reason why the best Artifact Porter decks still run Orcus. I don't think it'll be power crept or replaced, so that's why it's in the higher spot of A tier. I think is it the best A tier card? I think I like, yeah. If I not strict in terms of left to right, but roughly or so, I think I like it like that. Yeah, I like that. I think RS2 specific. But yeah, you versus the girl, he tells you not to worry about. After the stack 8 cost, we reach the 9 cost, the one and only 9 cost, in fact. Coming from the class that technically has low cost cards, that usually has low cost cards. But the reason for this being high cost is that it transforms all your Forestcraft cards that cost 1 or less into copies of Bramble Burst. What's Bramble Burst? It's just a card that deals 3 damage to anything. Most importantly, enemy leader. So, this is the card that I alluded to in Amethyst review, basically, where if there's ever a card that gives increased hand size, you can stack your hands with fairies. All you need is just 7 fairies. So you play this, it has ward. Hopefully you don't die. Not exactly a given when it's turn 9 already. And then the next one, if you had 7 fairies, you have 7 Bramble Bursts, and you can just play them, and that's it. That's GG. It's basically an OTK. But the problem is, first off, not only do you need a lot of fairy generation, not only do you have to pray that you somehow survive turn 9, and just think about all the things that can be played on turn 9. You also need a good hand size. So for that reason though, I actually feel like even Amethyst has more chances of seeing play, because all Amethyst is technically just an increased hand size. Forestcraft already creates lots of fairies, but Opulent Rose Screen technically demands more from you. It's a 9 cost that's just a 6/6 ward on the turn it's played, because maximum you can play, even if you play on turn 9, maybe if you have the extra play point, you can play 1 Bramble Burst, but you are essentially skipping the turn. And for turn 9 play, that's kind of rough. I would say it's the lowest C tier. I just think it just needs so much to work, and so I can't give it more than a C. I think I have a premium one, so it would be nice if it sees play, but at the moment, it just needs a bit too much to get working. I think that's all for the... Oh, yeah, we're reaching the hand cost. The only other neutral legendary, the Ruler of Cocytus. It gives you the Apocalypse deck. A 10 cards consisting of powerful cards related to the Apocalypse. You can see it here. I don't know exactly how many of each copy you get, but I know you only get 1 copy of Astaroth's Reckoning. So Astaroth's Reckoning sets the enemy leader's max defense to 1. This card, just simply, the best deck to run this in is Kuon, where I'll jump to Dimension. No, you're not. I'll get to that later. So it replaces your deck with Apocalypse deck. You only have 10 cards that consists of this. This is a Storm 10/10. This is a 1 cost 13/13, and this is a 5 cost 9/6 that deals 6 damage to 2 enemy followers and leader. And most importantly, the 10 cost just sets the enemy leader's max defense. So even they literally cannot even heal from this. As far as I know, since this is even a crush, there is no way to remove this. I feel like though it's on the card itself alone, it's alright. Like, most decks can't really utilize this very well. The problem is, after changing to this deck, you only draw 1 of this per turn. Most decks, you only draw 1 of this per turn. So just because of that, not very useful. Like, sure, this card is good, but unless you can play this card and then this card afterwards, or this card and this card afterwards to immediately OTK, it's a bit rough, because again, this is a 10 cost card, so you're playing this on turn 10. Like, your opponents could be doing any sorts of crazy things by turn 10, and you're just leaving a 10 cost body. you know what? It's kind of the same argument as opponent roll screen. Basically, you're just leaving a 10-10 down. Sure, you have a deck with like crazy cards, but if you don't draw the crazy cards immediately, you don't do much as well. But speaking of drawing them immediately, Dimension Climb, and this is why I feel, and I think the meta has evolved to the case where Runecraft is the best user of Cocytus, because if you get Dimension Climb down to 0, you play Cocytus, you Dimension Climb, you instantly get 5 of the Apocalypse deck card. If you somehow, this is the goal basically. If you somehow play Cocytus, super evolve it, Dimension Climb, and you get Estos Reckoning, you play it, and you kill something with Cocytus, that is also an OTK. However, though, I do feel like 18 cost is a bit much, even in the Spell Boost rune, and it's a good card, but I feel like if there were better things to Spell Boost next time, there likely will be, because even for Spell Boost rune, right, you are just drawing 5. Technically, you could whiff. You could get Runecraft. Sorry, this is Deck Builder. You could get 2 of this and 3 of this, and that's it. You know, what do? You play 2 Runeblade Conductors and just sit there. So I guess to me that's kind of a downside, and that adds to the variance of Runecraft. So I feel like I can give more than an A. Oh, yeah, well, this took way longer than expected actually. But yeah, that's kind of the list. It's pretty even, I guess. Like most cards are either S to B. Not a lot of cards are C. I hope the C tiers eventually go up with later expansions. And only one is in D, which is pretty good, I guess. Pretty good. Well, let me know what you guys think. Like, do you disagree with any of them? Like, which do you have as premium? What deck you're currently using? Like, do you think Rule of Cocytus should be A? You think Dimension Climb should be S? Let me know. Like, and if you want a tier list for meta decks, I'm probably doing one soon where I just look at the meta now. After, because 2 weeks has passed, like, I think the meta is probably matured to place where it's probably not changing much. I am going to make a video specifically for ladder climbing and versus tournaments, because I feel like personally those are two very different things. Sure, some decks will do well in both, but there's actually some distinct difference. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe, give a like, share your opinions, and yeah, I will see you soon, and I hope your turn 1 hand is a great one.